Welcome to the second block of the Stability and Mobility unit of your athletic development program. We're going to talk you through 3 stability exercises and 3 mobility exercises. As I said before, and I'll continue to say, is that stability and mobility will coexist within your sport, which means they're always at play. And certain individuals are going to need more stability, some individuals will need mobility. And we would like you to try and self-discover that within yourself, even though you might feel like I need more stability now. As the program progresses and you progress into the season, that may change. It's a very fluid model, stability and mobility, but it's definitely for you to discover what you need to know more of. And as you progress, different adaptations occur, and you might need less or more of it. But we want you to continue with the 6, feel your way through them, see what benefits, and it might be a case where you need an equal distribution of both. So we're going to talk you through the 6. The first thing is the stability stuff. So we got Annie to demonstrate the stability exercises. We're going to do 6 of each of the stability, but at home, if you feel like you need an extra few reps, or you feel like you need less and just need to focus on the movement, feel free to do that yourself. So the first one is a lateral over the cone. We're using the ball today, reach. Okay, so I want you to imagine this as high and as big as you can. It's just there for a reference and a constraint in the movement, but it's not necessarily the height of the box or the ball or whatever, the cone. It's just more the movement mechanics that we're looking for. So Annie will demonstrate what it is. So you're getting the knee up to about 90 degrees, and then you're reaching over, touching your toe, and then coming back over a ball. Now you can see she's well over the ball. She doesn't need to go that height, but what we are looking for is stability within good range. Remember, stability is the control you have within the range you have. So what we want to control as much of that range as we possibly can. So don't limit yourself in the movement. Make sure you are getting your knee nice and high. Make sure you are reaching over, you are touching down to the floor, and then you're controlling it all the way back over the movement again. That's very important. So 6 repetitions here, touching off the floor, and then come all the way up here. Okay, so the reach there is just to manage that in range of the hip to really control that motion as it's rotating around. That's really important that you just toe touch. Now what can happen, we've shown you these on some of the other exercises, is that you take your force and your foot and everything onto that foot that's reaching. Because if that happens, it's taking the complete demand away from the hip that's working, or the system, if you like, that's working. So the ankle, knee, and hip all have to coordinate together to make this movement successful. Now, as soon as you put force onto that left foot, it's going to take away that demand, which we don't want. We want the stability to be challenged in this pattern here. So 6 repetitions of each one. Good. And if you want to challenge yourself more, keep going to end ranges as much as you can. Get the motion as far as you can over, touch, and then come back. Good. Okay, the next one then is just a lateral reach. So single leg balance lateral reach, but you're now rotating. So you're going to rotate. So it's going to demand a lot of internal and external rotation of the foot that's standing, and for you to reach as far forward as you can. Now, as you get better at it, you might find your reach becomes really far. Initially, it might be very close to your center mass. You might feel like it's not doing a whole lot. But if you feel that you can go further, I'm expecting you to reach as far round as you possibly can, keeping this leg straight. So there's a slight bend in the left leg, keep the left leg straight, reach around as much as you can, and touch, and then come back. Again, challenge yourself on the range. So again, how far I rotate around, and also how far I reach out. It can be quite a very demanding exercise if you push yourself to the end range. Again, just 6 repetitions on your left, touching far around as you can, and then come back. Good, and then do the other side. Good. All the exercises here, stability and mobility, are all about improving the other components. So if we can improve our movement capabilities in a nice controlled environment, then when we go on to chaos, like the sport itself, or into more demanding exercises in the speed and stability, or speed agility, and the strength and power, then we're going to get benefit from doing this groundwork into the other components. So here is where we enrich ourselves with good movement, and then we apply that good movement to other training units, and then the benefit of that training goes up. So this is an indirect way to improve your performance. Directly it will by good movement, but indirectly it will from other training modalities as well. Okay, single leg sequence. So you're going in front of that box or cone or whatever you might have again. You're coming up now frontally, so you're coming up over, touching in front of you. The The reason why I like to use something big is that I want to force that toe touch. So she's coming around, toe touch as far as I can. See the way hip is nice, fully flex forward. I like that, that's good. And then coming back, then the foot is going back, knee towards the floor. So toe touches first, then knee to the floor into sort of like a lunge. And then she's coming back out of it. Up, controlled, touch, toe touch, up and around, over, reaching again to the floor, always nice and controlled. Again, a common error here can be just you use momentum to get you out of the movement. And by momentum I mean speed and velocity. So when that happens, when you do momentum, when you put momentum into the movement, it demands less of the musculature in the body. So speed is not the answer to this movement here. It's about controlling the movement. When you do it, slow it down, you actually demand more of the muscles than you would do if it was more powerful. That's different in terms of a strength and power component. But in this unit here, control and stability and taking your time with the movement is the most important thing. Just every repetition you do properly is an investment in good movement. So take your time with this. So again, just 6 repetitions and then you'll change. So remember I said before about when we're doing any splits or squat or lunges, we make sure we're hip width apart and all that. We don't want to take the stability demand into the movement. But here we want the stability demand into the movement. So exploring the narrowness, exploring the range, exploring the control of it is exactly what we're looking for here. So now we have a different exercise and we have a different demand, and we're challenging demand by putting ourselves in an environment where it challenges our stability. And of course our mobility. So here's a great example, and I was hoping something like this would happen to show you that it's normal to start falling over. It's normal to kind of lose your balance on certain exercises. It's completely normal, because that shows you you're actually going beyond maybe what you're capable of now, and then after a few repetitions you will benefit so much from doing this movement. If everything was just straightforward and there was no error in anything, then maybe the movement needs to be challenged to get more benefit from it. Okay, so there are your 3 stability exercises. Again, play around with these as many reps. We've done 6, so 6 is a good measure. If you want to do a little bit more, of course, if you feel like it's very challenging for you to get 6 in and you feel like your body's shaking almost, then reduce it down to 4 or whatever the case may be. Okay, now on to mobility. So we're going to do a posterior hip, it's called. So posterior, again, we talk about posterior chain. It's just the back. It's just your glutes, basically, is what we're stretching off here. So an important point here on this: if you don't have something like this at home, try and make shifted. Or if you don't have this nice incline benched, make sure that you kind of get into that position and without the support of this. There's various ways you can get into this position. But what we're looking for here, if you do happen to have a bench or a modified bench or something you can create a 45-degree angle with, fantastic. So we want huge stability here. So we're holding on. The bottom foot is to the floor. The important thing here is the hip, this left femur, this left thigh is straight out from the hip. So it's not at an angle, it's straight out from the hip. And then all she's doing is reaching forward with her hand and then coming back. Perfect. So the foot is straight. This thigh is coming straight out from the hip, which is very important. If that is at an angle, then you're not going to get to the glute. So again, 6 repetitions. See, the hand is on. So everything's like in a stable environment. So when it's in a stable environment, we can challenge the mobility. So again, just 6 repetitions. It's very important here is also, I didn't mention, is the bottom foot is straight. A lot of people can internally rotate it or externally rotate the foot, which takes a lot of demand off the glute. So again, finding that, so you need to step to the left, perfect. So now the femur is straight out to the side, so the femur is this bone here, so that's straight out from the hip. It's not at an angle, it's straight. And she's reaching forward as much as she can, and you should start feeling this in the glute, the posterior chain. And the bottom foot is straight. She's reaching as far forward as she can. That's good. Typically, it's the posterior chain. It's the glutes that become very, very tight. And if you don't program in your exercises to kind of release the glutes, then you miss the benefit of having glutes that are strong but also have range to get into movement. Another part of the glute, you have your glute maximus, which we're stretching there, but the glute med is on the side of the hip basically, and that's what we're going to stretch off here. So one leg is straight, other leg is just supporting it, and all she's going to do is lean into that side. So you can do this on the in the frame of a door or anywhere against just a wall at home. Just set up similar to what she has here, and then just lean into it. And all she's going to stretch, if you think of where the glute med is as she's leaning, she's just stretching those things, so the muscles are becoming longer, so she's stretching it out. And it's completely in this plane. If she starts going forward or rotationally rocking, then the glute med is not going to be stretching as much. So it's a complete frontal plane stretch, so a side to side stretch, which is going to focus on the glute med. Some of you might be very good and have good range like Annie has, and some of you may struggle. So if you struggle, or if you've got too much range, take another step away from it to allow you to get even deeper into the stretch. If you find like this is too much, take a step closer to the wall or into the frame, whatever you might need. So again, 6 repetitions on each side. Again, sitting into it, and you should feel a stretch of the glute med. If you're feeling in the lower spine, just adjust your feet position, maybe go a bit wider, creating a bit more stability, and then you might feel it just a little bit more in the glute med as opposed to the lower limb. Okay, the last exercise is a hip sequence. So this is going to be on your knees, so maybe you might need a mat. If you don't have a mat, so something soft here. So you're going to have hands across your chest, and you're going to step into this lunge. So step into it and sit as far forward as you can. Perfect. It's good. And then come out of it. Now we're going to step to our side. So we're completely to our side as much as you can. Sit into it again. And then the last one, you're going to step behind yourself, but rotate the foot and then in. So Annie needs to work around, can work around this range. So yeah, same again. So go forward. So really good forward. Now a bit more to the lateral. So a bit more to the lateral. So perfect. That's exactly it. So she's progressed now in the range, and now rotate as much as you can. So behind your body as much as you possibly can, and sit into it, and then try the other side. Yeah. So again, just 6 repetitions. So it'll be twice through, if you know what I mean. So you got 3, 1, 2, 3, twice through, and then go to the side, sitting into it. Good. Then coming back, and then stepping towards me as much as you can, and sit into it. Yeah, and then back to the front. Again, step as far forward as you can. All we're doing is just stretching out the capsula, stretching out the hip as much in deep range as we possibly can. So we're just on our knees, so that takes out the contribution of the foot, and we're now focusing just on the hip. Perfect. So there are the 6 exercises, 3 mobility and 3 stability. Again, like I always say in this, you might need just loads of mobility. So repeat these maybe 3 times through. You might have great stability, so that's fine. You don't need as much stability. Or you may have loads of range, and you need to control the range a bit better. So then focus on the stability more than the mobility. You don't want to create range you can't control. So just find the balance in between the how much stability and mobility you do. We progress this each week. Each one is a level, but feel free to keep an exercise into your next program. If you enjoyed something from block 1, bring it into block 2, and if you're enjoying something block 2, bring it into the next one, into block 3. Okay, we'll see you again soon, and we're going to keep progressing the mobility and the stability exercise.